Hi, BMG family. This is Adria, and I am lucky enough to be here today with our guest, Marcus Anderson, who has agreed to give us a little of his time today to answer some questions about his music and his other projects. Hi, Marcus. How are you?
I'm doing good, Adria. How about you?
I'm pretty good. Thank you very much for being here with us today.
Yeah, no, appreciate you guys having me.
Excellent. All right. I have a few questions. I wanted to start with your music. So you
Uh-huh.
play the saxophone.
I do.
Yes. Can I ask how long have you been playing saxophone?
I stopped counting after 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's somewhere around 22, 23. I started when I was about like 12, 13. You know, when you're young, you're like, I'm 12 and a half. I'm somewhere in between there. And I've never really stopped. And it's just been an amazing journey, playing the saxophone and just picking up other instruments along the way, too.
How did you begin? Was it something that you started at school or someone in your life handed you one or?
Yeah, it was mainly centered around my dad. He always used to sit me in front of the couch or in front of his bed, and I'd listen to this music with no words. And he didn't tell me anything. He said, just sit here, just sit down, and listen. And I just knew it was music with no words. And I mean, I enjoyed it. And one thing he told me, and actually told me several times, that he said, you're going to play the saxophone and you're going to be great. And you're going to travel the world. And, these hands are your gifts. And I never forgot that. I kept that in mind. And it's something that still resonates in my head and reverberates in my head today.
Mhm. That sounds like a really strong influence. Sounds like your dad really sort of pushed you in the right direction. Do you have any other musical influences, maybe other artists that you find you draw influence from?
Most definitely. And then earlier on was like Michael Jackson, of course, James Brown, Jackie Wilson. As I got older, I fell in love with Neo and Usher and the stuff they did. Brandy was a very favorite artist as well. Going back to the classic, artists like Stevie Wonder, Donny Hathaway. Let's see, I mean, the list goes on and on. Smokey Robinson. Like I just love like all the different people and John Mayer. And most recently, within like the past, I guess since 2012, like I got the opportunity to tour and record with Prince. So that was such an amazing experience, and to be featured on his albums and be featured on the shows and tour and just sit side by side and learn from him was so amazing. And I can't even put it into words. So if I try to, is doing it a disjustice, because an experience like that is nothing you can really tell. You just experience it.
Yeah, I mean, he's a musical legend. You can't even sort of wrap your mind around the idea of musical legend. So I can imagine
Yeah,
that sounds wow. That's really a wow experience.
yeah, it is.
So,
Yeah.
so talking about some of those performances, then Prince is obviously a highlight. It's sort of like, at the top. Are there any performances you've had that maybe you wish you had a do-over?
Mm, I'm trying to think. Maybe in high school. But like outside of that, no, because it all helped kind of develop the musician and person that I am today. In high school, I was very kind of timid and shy, but it wasn't that I'm kind of a shy person, not so much now, but in
Mhm.
high school, I wasn't encouraged to be outgoing, or I wasn't encouraged to be myself. I was told to kind of hold back, and what I was doing, that I was showing off. But I couldn't help that my level of musicianship was above where everyone else was, in high school. And so whenever I'd play and I sounded good, I was told that I was showing off. So I kind of like held back a little bit in high
Mhm.
school. But then once I got to college, my professor, Dr. Wiggins, definitely just nurtured that. He saw what I had and he just took it and just watered it and put all the right soil in it to make it grow into what you see today. And so big shout out to Dr. Wiggins. And so I don't really have any concerts or anything like that I want to, do over.
Well, that's good. And thank you, Dr. Wiggins. Absolutely. Those sorts of like influences really make such a strong and huge difference in sort of I see the man that you've become. So
Yeah.
that's really, really cool.
Yeah.
So,
Branford helped as well. I can't forget about Branford Marcellus. I got to study with him.
oh wow,
Yeah.
that's a cool one too. All right. So kind of moving aside from music, which I'm sure these are related for you, but this other part of your life, the coffee world,
Hmm.
you now own or co-own the Trax Coffee Bar in North Carolina. So
I
how
do.
did that happen?
So long story short, I was working with Prince back in 2012 and 13, and I was just drinking energy drinks. That was like my go-to. Mountain Dew Power Amp was my drink of choice. And they
Not
said,
an ad.
not an ad. It's not an ad, but that was my drink of choice, and I couldn't stop drinking it. And my friend Shelby Johnson, who was working with us at the time, and she's a vocalist, was a vocalist with Prince. She told me to drink coffee, and I said, "Well, I tried it. I didn't like it." And she took me to this coffee shop up the street, and I tried it. I liked it, and I said, I'm going to start getting into coffee." So coffee kind of became my new thing to kind of get me going, and I noticed that coffee made me write better music. So I wrote a whole album about music, and all this started, around about 2013, maybe 2015. I think is when we launched my coffee brand. And coffee. I drank it every day. And then that led to me being able to meet a couple of different people that service coffee as well. And then me and my partner, Alan, bought Trax Coffee Bar in 2020, took over in January. And we're a little over a year from owning it and looking to franchise and open up more locations.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You're pretty busy.
Yeah, well, I've simplified, but I focused on a couple of different things: music, coffee, family, no particular order.
Okay. All right. So speaking of this love of coffee, which I will tell you I also share, that obviously has inspired this festival that you have coming up, which is the Jazz and Coffee Escape in Asheville.
Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the Jazz and Coffee Escape combines all of my musical experience with my friends and jazz artists that I've met while touring in the jazz world. And I'm bringing them basically to North Carolina, one of my places that I love so much. If you've never been to Asheville, it's so beautiful. And I could basically combine coffee and music and just put it together. And I picked up my location. So all those three favorite things into one place. And we just make it a fun festival with music, lots of coffee, after parties, enjoyments, sightseeing, touring all over Asheville, and people learning more about the state of North Carolina and learning a little bit more about me as well.
Excellent. And that's August 6th and 7th.
Right? It is. Yes. So this year, we haven't announced it yet, but I can go ahead and tell you, we're going to go virtual again, similar to what we did last year. Mm-hmm. We had some incredible artists that came out, Kenny Lattimore being one of those. This year, we're working on the lineup and making the announcement that we're going to do the festival, but it's going to be virtual. Mm-hmm. And we're going to work on the 2022 plan for Marcus Anderson Jazz and Coffee Escape in Asheville. So it's going to continue on, but because of the pandemic, we've been having to shift gears a little bit.
As we all have. All right. Well, Marcus, thank you so much for talking with me and sharing a little bit about your background and your interests and this amazing festival you have coming up. And I really look forward to seeing the show this weekend. So thank you very much.
You want to be there?
Yes, of course I'll be there.
I got to bring you some coffee now.
Okay. You have to bring me some coffee now. You said it.
I have to. I got you, Adria. I got you.
All right. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.